black people like me talked to the slaves, they didn't kill him. They sent some old house Negro along behind him to undo what he said. You have to read the history of slavery to understand this. There were two kinds of Negroes. There was that old house Negro and the field Negro. And the house Negro always looked out for his master. When the field Negroes got too much out of line, he held them back in check. He put them back on the plantation. The house Negro could afford to do that because he lived better than the field Negro. He ate better, he dressed better, and he lived in a better house. He lived right up next to his master in the attic or the basement. He ate the same food his master ate and wore his same clothes. And he could talk just like his master. Good diction. And he loved his master more than his master loved himself.
Like Sir David Sambo Clark, old house Negro. God help us. I'm sick.
Try and put the fire out. He didn't want his master's house burned. He never wanted his master's property threatened. And he was more defensive of it than the master was. That was the house Negro. But then you had some field Negroes who lived in huts, had nothing to lose. They wore the worst kind of clothes, they ate the worst food, and they caught hell. They felt the sting of the lash. They hated their master. Oh, yes, they did. If the master got sick, they prayed that the master died. If the master's house caught a fire, they prayed for a strong wind to come along. This was the difference between the two. And today you still have house Negroes and field Negroes.
Hello folks, how are you? I'll be brief. I hope everyone is having a good day. And the name of this is Malcolm X versus Dr. Martin Luther King. Integration, separation, and the white liberal or liberal. And I want to tell you, I admire both of these gentlemen, but a lot of our people, or a lot of people period, are have their head in a cloud, or shall I say under it. And the reason why, we have to understand one major thing. A lot of our people just don't read. A lot of our African Americans, I repeat, do not read. A lot of things are handed to you, from mouth to ear, and you just believe all kind of nonsensical things when it comes to civil rights people. Now, another thing I want to say, Malcolm X did not say segregation. He said separation, while Dr. King, as we all know, stood for integration. And I'm going to be brief, because this is Black History Month. Now, we're going to define, we're going to actually tell you literally what's the difference. As Malcolm X said, segregation concerning the Negro is in a Negro lives in this certain specific area, community. He doesn't own any stores. Sound familiar? He doesn't own anything that employs his own people. Get my drift? In other words, all he does is eat there and sleep there. He is not in any type of control of the economy in his own neighborhood, and he lives off to himself, just him and his own people. That's segregation. As Malcolm X explained, separation. He gave a perfect example. He said, look at Chinatown. And this was even in the 60s. He said, look at Chinatown. He said, Chinatown, of course we know, Chinese people live in Chinatown. Look and see how many banks the Chinese own now in Chinatown. Just in Chinatown alone. More than all African American owned and operated banks in America. They own their own banks. They have their own stores. They feed and clothe their own people. but they're not segregated. They're separated. Sure, they come out of their community and go everyplace else, but the thing is, they own the money mostly in their own community. Your money is supposed to bounce no less than 7 times in your own community before it goes out to other people. You see, black folks, not like it has been said, the most dangerous place it is for anybody is to get between a black person and the mall on payday, where he gives his money, 3/4 of his money to other races. But it's time for us to build up our own community. Nobody's here to be talking bad about black people, because there's enough people on YouTube doing that, and that's not getting you anywhere. It's time to stop relying on these other people. It's time to stop listening to these phony civil rights leaders and get out there. Let's educate ourselves. Spend that $1.1 trillion in our own community. Put up businesses. Educate our children to be entrepreneurs. Put up businesses. You understand? Businesses where we can educate and employ our own people to open up more businesses, instead of sending our children and our men and women to work out of our own community to work for other races of people. And I'm not being racist. I'm telling you the fact, because if we don't, we're going to disappear. Enough listening to enough liberal goofball philosophy. And another thing, he said, Dr. King said, I have a dream. Malcolm X said, while Dr. King was having dreams, Negroes were having nightmares. Now on the other side, Dr. King was a very good man, and he accomplished a lot of things. We're seeing a lot of these things trying to be taken away from us. But anyway, that's a different thing. He said, he said he wanted us to integrate with white Americans, because we know not all white people are not racist. So let's not go in that direction. Just like all black people are not racist. Just like all Spanish people are not racist. But it only takes one clown, one buffoon, to cause a total catastrophe. But anyway, let's get back. I'm going to be quick. It's not going to be a long video. He wanted our people to be treated, he wanted black people to be treated equal with white people, with white Americans. And let's work together to build up not only black Americans, but all other ethnic groups who are, let's say, oppressed. You understand? But he wanted to do it, let's integrate. And here goes the thing that most people don't know. And Malcolm X was totally against that. He said nothing can be accomplished by integrating, throwing black people into the white community to talk about integration when you have nothing to integrate with. I mean, that's food for thought. Because you didn't own any, but you own more. I'm going to put it to you then. After integration in 1965, do you know 68 to 70% of all African American children were born in a two-parent household? And even my grandfather had big businesses all the way up until the middle of the 60s. Do you understand? And most of I even remember a black-owned and operated drugstore I haven't seen since the 70s. We had our own businesses. I remember that in the 60s, right in New York, where I was born and raised. But after integration, you just lost everything, mostly. I'm going to be, like Malcolm X said, your schools are inferior. You have no businesses. But I just want to say, these gentlemen, I admire both of them. Even though they came from totally different spectrum, they wanted to accomplish the same thing, equality. And what happened at the end, why Dr. King stopped being so well liked? Actually, a lot of people in the church, in African American church, turned against him. He went to actor Harry Belafonte's home, and the movie star, he also a civil rights activist. He said, why are you, Dr. King, my brother, why are you looking so sad? Upset. He said, I fear that I've integrated our people into a burning house. And so Harry Belafonte was perplexed. Why did you say that? After all this hard work and marching, all these people have been killed. He said, because I fear that America is losing its morality. That's what a mouthful. What a, you know, that's what a statement. Huh. That is really something. I mean, what a heck of a statement. And he realized, he was shocked to see that some black Americans had never, in the South, farmers had never seen a dollar bill. But I like both of these men because they were passionate about helping black folks. See, you don't see that in today's civil rights leaders. One of these so-called reverends, one of these people have out there in Chicago have his own brewery. The other one have big TV shows. He's a reverend, but never had a church. These people are who snitches on mobs and owe all this money and don't even have to pay taxes to the IRS. I mean, some of these people are. See, this is why. Now listen, 72% right now of every black American child born is born into a single parent household, brought up by black women. And I'm not against. I'm just making that telling you the truth. Now this is what Malcolm X said on the Liberal. He said, the white conservatives aren't friends of the Negro either, but they at least don't try to hide it. And this was in the 1960s, talking about conservative. And now this is what he says about the liberal. But the white liberals are foxes who also show their teeth to the Negro but pretend that they are smiling. The white liberals are more dangerous than the conservatives. They lure the Negro, and as the Negro runs from the growling wolf, he flees into the open jaws of the smiling fox. One is the wolf, the other is a fox. No matter what, they'll both eat you. But the liberal is the most dangerous to the Negro of all. Does that sound familiar? Really? I mean, what are your thoughts on this? My thoughts are, and I didn't say anything about segregation. We should pull back and build up our own community. Sure, we may need help. Of course, I'm not saying that. Some of the things that are government policies, I'm not saying total government control. They have the ability to help. I mean, to pass laws like for the historically black colleges. Make sure that they can help. We can get our children going to school, bring them up as entrepreneurs, teach them how to open up and manage their own businesses and employ their own people. Because if we keep on at the rate we're going, do you know it has been said in 3 decades, now that we've gone from 13.9 to 13.2, that we're only down to 12.2% of the population, and there's only 12 million black men left. We can't continue like. Look at the murder rate in Chicago. Now, what's even more, Trump told him, said, if you don't clean up Chicago, I will. He's going to send in 1,000 feds. Now, there's going to be a lot more killing because of a few buffoons. So what do you think about this? Malcolm X or Dr. King? Integration or separation? I don't know about you, but we need to build up our own communities and stop spending our money with all these other people. Nobody's coming thousands of miles across the sea from all these Middle Eastern countries or anywhere else to try and be your friend. All these so-called Democrats did. Do you know what they've done? They've actually tried to replace you with a low-wage workforce. That's what they will do. Pray for America, folks. This country needs God right now, because if we don't, we're going to lose everything. God bless. Good night.